Okay, so I want to start off this video by doing a water test. This aquarium, as you can see, has no filter. And let's see how the plants are doing when it comes to being the source of filtration. So I'm using these test strips. As I told you in my last video, these strips make it more convenient, easier, quicker. So first we're going to be testing ammonia. Just simply dip it in there for 30 seconds. And of course the fish are going to try to bite it. Okay, bring it out and compare immediately. So this is an aquarium that has no filter. So far we have ammonia. I'd say that is between 0.5 and 0. And as you can see, it's safe. And then I have this right here. This is the test strip that tests pretty much everything else. So this one, you go ahead and you dip it in for 2 seconds. 1, 2. And then you let it sit for 60 seconds. Okay, so it's been about 60 seconds and let's compare the results. The first thing I always like to look at is the nitrite and nitrate levels, because those are the most important for keeping your fish safe. So we look at nitrite, which is the second one. That is 0, which is great. That's nitrate 0, nitrite 0. Cl, again, I don't know what that is. Carbonate, not really sure what that is. But it's carbonate, like it's between 0 and 40. But it says it's okay according to this chart. pH at about 6.4, and at the top, total hardness I say is at 75. And as you can see, it says, can you see it? It says okay. So this tank has been set up now for a little bit over 3 months, and my water parameters are just about perfect. And that is amazing because on this aquarium, as you can see, I don't use any man-made products, no electricity. I have no filter on this aquarium, I have no heater, and I have no light. Everything is natural. This tank relies on balance, and it's just a complete ecosystem, and that just makes it even more entertaining and fun to watch. So today I just want to give you guys an update on the system. But first off, if this is your first time seeing this tank, I'll give a little explanation as to how this works. First off, we have this room that is very bright. These right here are northwestern windows, so we get a little bit of the sunset. And that right there is extremely important with this aquarium. You need a lot of light. You need light to sustain these plants. These plants are the key. The plants are the most important element, and you know plants need light. So the more light you have, the better. So light is number one. Number two, like I said, plants. Plants are going to purify the water. If you want fish, the fish will produce waste. You need a way to get that waste out of the water. So I have plants, two kinds of plants. I have terrestrial plants. These right here are the heavy lifters. Because they have access to atmospheric CO2, they grow faster. Because they grow faster, they remove more waste. So I think it's very important to have these terrestrial plants growing. I have some, I'll explain that a little bit later what types I have. And then the second component of the plants is the underwater plants. Now these plants, they remove waste as well, but more importantly, because they're underwater, they produce oxygen for your fish. So that definitely is very important. And lastly, the fish. The fish are important as well because these act as a fertilizer for the plants. They cause the plants to grow faster. The fish to eat, they poop. The poop is translated into nitrite, nitrate, ammonia, and stuff like that. And the plants love it and they grow. And thus, we have a balanced aquarium. Now, as I said, the tank itself has been set up for 3 months. But if you follow the channel, you know that this no-tech aquarium has been going on for over a year. It's just before I was using a Tupperware container because I was just testing it out. And it wasn't until 3 months ago I decided to upgrade to an aquarium. But the system itself has been going for a year, and it definitely is a well-balanced environment, and it's just awesome. So first off, I'll give you guys a look at the plants that I have on this system, because the plants are the key elements. So surprisingly, in this tank compared to the Tupperware container, my underwater plants are doing much better than my terrestrial plants. Probably because the underwater plants have just more space to grow, and that Tupperware container was only 6 inches, so definitely didn't have a lot of space. And this tank, this is a 20 long, they have a lot more space, and they definitely are using it. But yeah, with the plants, I'll go over the terrestrial plants first. Like I said, these are the heavy lifters because they grow so fast. They remove more waste. So this right here is a stem of lucky bamboo. You can't even tell that it's lucky bamboo because it looks so different. But this piece of lucky bamboo is about maybe, how tall is that? I'd say 2 feet tall, maybe 2.5 feet tall because it's so bent in the water. And you can't see it, but the roots on this thing are out of control, which is a good thing because that means that it's definitely doing a good job. I like how tall it is. In the future, I have a few more pieces of lucky bamboo that I want to shoot up, and it'll be a nice tall look to it. I have this one right here, 2 more in this corner, and then 1 over there. So just imagine how that's going to look when they all get tall. But for now, they're growing nicely because it's winter and because the water is a little bit cooler. They're taking their time. But I believe in the summer, we get more daylight, we get warmer waters, and we'll get more growth as well. Over here I have a little cutting of this Dracaena. Not sure what type it is, but just took a little piece off and I have it in here. And this also has some pretty decent roots. Same family as the lucky bamboo. Probably going to take it out because I don't want it to get too big. But for now, just growing in there, experimenting with it. We have just a little piece of lucky bamboo. No, this is bacopa, a little piece of bacopa. A little piece of wandering Jew. The wandering Jew is doing very well downstairs. And I want to see if I could get it up here. What else? We have pothos right there. And I like how the pothos isn't getting out of control. I don't want these plants to like go too crazy. And I love how that pothos is kind of growing in a ball. Most of the leaves are underwater, and usually it's not a good idea to leave pothos underwater. But so far it's doing all right. Over here we have this little water palm. It started off very well, but then the roots got all like destroyed by my cat. So I was trying to recover, but it's coming back nicely. And those are all of my terrestrial plants. Eventually, like I said, I do want these to get a little bit bigger, especially with the height from the lucky bamboo. And I definitely like the look of it, and they definitely are important in this feature. After that, we have the underwater plants, and like I said, these guys did the best. So first off, these Amazon swords got big out of nowhere. Look at that. When I planted them, these guys were like 6 inches long, and now we have leaves well over 12 inches. I'd say this is about 16 inches on this leaf. This one right here has, look at that, maybe 18 inches. And notice how they're right against this wall and they're right against that window. So they definitely love the natural light. I am noticing a lot of algae growth. Like you can see this leaf right here, covered in algae. So there is a lot of algae growth on the leaves, but it looks like it's not too bad because I had the snails in here, and the snails, they get to them, and you don't see any leaves dying from algae. Before my planted tank, I used to have my leaves dying because they were being suffocated by algae for too long, but it seems like the snails come right before they start suffocating. Eventually I may think about getting either more snails or fish to help clean up the leaves a little bit better, but for now there's nothing to complain about. So I have this big one right here, this big one right there, and then I have a little small one. I'm hoping that small one could grow immersed because that definitely will be nice. And as you can see with this side, I have it built up a little bit higher to substrate. Down here we have about 2 inches of substrate. Up here it goes all the way up to like 5 inches of substrate. So the reason for that was to be able to get this side with more immersed plants. Besides that, we have the dwarf sage, which is doing awesome. All these light green leaves are new growth. This was also covered in algae, but it's growing so fast it's actually competing with the algae, and it's definitely doing well. And when you consider algae, this tank should be covered in algae, but it's not because the plants are competing. As you saw, some of the leaves do have algae on them, but I've had tanks before that had natural light and the walls were covered in algae, and it was just terrible, and it was a hard work keeping up with the algae. But because these plants are growing so fast, they're definitely doing a good job compete with the algae. But yeah, the dwarf sage is doing great. I'm finding new runners every day, and it's becoming a very thick, dense environment, really like a jungle, to the point where the fish are in there and you can't even tell, you can't even see them, and there's one like right in there, but it's so thick and I like that. Then we have this plant right here, Crypt Wendites. This one is blended in with the dwarf sage, but it's also doing pretty well. We have a leaf right here, a leaf right there, and we have some back in there. And then I just have random plants. I have Anubias attached to a rock, Java fern. Oh, there's a piece of Java fern right over there pressed against the window. I mean against the glass close to the window. And that right there is getting really big as well, secretly, because it's in the back. So these plants definitely like this environment. I do have a dirty substrate, so that helps with the dwarf sage and these root feeding plants. But the plants are doing awesome. And like I said, these are the reason for my success. They're consuming the waste. These underwater plants are producing oxygen for the fish, which is great. After plants, we have the fun part, which is the livestock. So when it comes to livestock, you definitely got to be careful because that's the easiest thing to go overboard with. You don't want too many fish and livestock in an aquarium because if they produce too much waste, your plants won't be able to keep up with them. You're going to have nitrites and nitrates and ammonia, and the tank is going to crash. So you definitely got to balance out and not overdo it. The tank is definitely very understocked, and it has to stay that way if you want it to be balanced without a filter. So first off, I have some nerite snails. So you can see one right there behind the fish attached to that rock. You can kind of see them back there. We have another one back there. We have one right here on this rock, and they're scattered abroad. And I must say they are doing a fantastic job. Despite some of the leaves having algae on them, this tank will be much worse, I believe, if they weren't in an aquarium. So like I said, in the future, I may get 2 more for this tank, or I may just like try to find an algae-eating fish just to help take care of some of those leaves. But overall, the tank is extremely clean as far as the glass, and they're doing a decent job. So I have 5 of those, and then I have 3 paradise gourami. Normally the gourami are front and center, but right now they're acting shy, and that's because I was digging in the tank a little bit. You can see one right there in the bush, and there are a total of 3. The reason why I chose these is because these are gourami, and you know gourami, they take oxygen directly from the surface. So if there was ever a problem of these plants not producing enough oxygen, like in the summertime when the hot water or the warmer water consume more oxygen or make it so that the water has less oxygen, I don't have to worry because these guys can take oxygen directly from the surface. So I have 3 of these paradise gourami. The goal is to eventually try to get a pair from them, but right now you can't see anything because they're being shy. One back there, one right there in the center. I would feed them, but like I said, this tank is balanced. I fed them this morning, so I can't go and feed them again because I have to stay balanced in order to keep everything working properly. So that's all I have when it comes to livestock. And like I said, eventually I may end up getting some nerite snails to help even more with the algae, or I might get an algae-eating fish. The only thing about the fish is that it has to be super hardy. It has to be able to handle these colder temperatures because right now, without a heater, this tank is at 68 degrees Fahrenheit, and sometimes it drops to 65 degrees Fahrenheit, so the fish has to be subtropical. I was thinking hill stream loaches, but hill stream loaches like fast moving water. They're like rich in oxygen waters, and in the summer, who knows how much oxygen is going to be in this water, because the same way this room gets very cold in the winter, it also gets very hot in the summer. So this tank could reach 90 degrees Fahrenheit on some days, and I definitely need a fish that's able to handle just such situations. So either I'll find a fish hardy enough to be able to clean up some of this algae, or I'll just stick with snails. But like I said, not too much with the bioload because there is no filter. The only filter is these plants, and the plants are relatively slow when it comes to consuming waste. So it's very important that you don't overdo it with fish. And really, I don't really need any other fish because these gourami are pretty entertaining. They're just a little freaked out right now because of the camera, but you saw for some of my old videos, they interact with me, they eat out my hand, they jump for me when I reach towards them. So definitely are some very entertaining fish. Overall, I'm definitely very satisfied with this aquarium and the results I'm getting. Honestly, I'm a little bit surprised. I definitely didn't expect it to be this easy. I do water changes once a week, and that's all I have to do. I have yet to wipe the glass because the snails are always doing their job, and definitely a very low maintenance aquarium. And I love it so much that I'm actually trying another one. Now, the other one that I'm trying is in a different room, not as much light, so it may be a little bit more challenging, but I'm up for the challenge because the results are amazing. As for the future of this aquarium, I don't plan on doing anything different, just allowing these plants to continue to grow and do their thing. I'm not going to do any trimming either. I want the plants to get as thick as possible, and I believe that the thicker plants are, not only will it increase my filtration, but also give my gourami a chance to breed, and it'll allow their babies, if they do breed, to survive, and the parents won't be able to eat them. So just going to let this thing grow and hopefully get out of control, because the more wilder these plants get, the better of an ecosystem this thing becomes. But yeah, this is a look at the 20-gallon no-tech aquarium. As always, let me know what you guys think about this tank. What are your suggestions on a final fish for this aquarium? Thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.